A 2-day internet blackout shows even the Taliban cannot turn back time. A man sits on the wall while talking to someone on a video call after telecom and internet service resumed in Kabul, Afghanistan on October 1st, 2025. For 48 hours, the Taliban appeared to turn back the clock in Afghanistan with the directive to cut off the internet and phone network, disconnecting millions of people from the world outside. Afghans lost the ability to contact anyone within or beyond their borders, sending waves of panic worldwide as families, colleagues, and friends realized the entire nation had gone dark. Banking services froze, businesses ground onto a halt, fight to flight to and from major airports are cancelled, the money market failed, and companies and ad groups lost contact with the client and staff. The greatest disappear was that people feared that Afghanistan had once again been plunged into conflict, reported Hiwad Watander, a journalist in the capital Kabul, who used a pen name to avoid the Taliban retribution. The people appeared as if their spirits had left their bodies. Any sense of hope seemed to have completely vanished. The unprecedented internet blackout came without public warning and was immediately attributed to an order from the Taliban, a repressive Islamist regime that has stripped personal freedoms, particularly those of women and girls, since taking power in 2021. The Taliban flag fluttered near telecom equipment overlooking the Hazrat-e-Ali Shrine in Mazar-e-Sharif on October 16, 2025, after the Taliban banned fiber optic internet in Park province. Just 2 weeks earlier, Taliban leaders in the north said they had cut the internet to several provinces to prevent immoral activities. An alternative system will be established within the country for essential needs, said Haji Zaid, the spokesman with the governor of northern Park province. He said the order came from the Taliban's supreme leader Maulai Baimatullah Khundzada, the powerful and reclusive figure who issued the edict from the southern city of Kandahar. No reason was given for the nationwide shutdown that started just after 5 p.m. on Monday, nor for the sudden reconnection on Wednesday, leaving the rumors on social media to fill the void. Afghans are starting to share the shrinking grief they felt over the last few days as they realized there was no way to legally or safely get a message in or out. For many, it has only now become clear how much power the regime has to isolate them in their own homes, particularly women, who are banned from the work, school, and even some public places. For the Taliban, the episode possibly carries the lesson that attempting to turn back time on the population that's grown up with the internet is much harder than just flicking a switch. The total internet blackout. On the U.S. East Coast on Monday morning, Don Maduri, director of internet analysis at Kentic, a network monitoring company, received a message from the contacts that Afghanistan was about to go dark. Within an hour, he watched the data show the connectivity fell off a cliff. It was just a wholesale disconnection, he recalled. Internet watchdog NetBlock blogs reported a total internet blackout affecting some 43 million people. Afghans who are normally active on social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, fell silent. WhatsApp messages sent from the abroad remained unread. Local and international phone calls failed to connect. Taliban leaders said nothing. Members of Afghan diaspora spent hours and sleepless nights trying to call and text relatives, friends, and colleagues back home. Fatima Yusufi, a former player for the Afghanistan national soccer team who fled to Australia, said her family had been trying to reach her aunt, a single mom who relies on money sent from abroad to feed her four children. Who we won't know how she's doing, how we can help her, or how she can let us know if she needs money or if she's out of food, said Yusuf on Tuesday. For many girls and women, the internet has become the only way to connect, and defy the Taliban's ban on education beyond the sixth grade. Mati Amin, a co-founder of Solax, which educates the Afghan girls and women via WhatsApp, said they've seen a precipitous decline in lessons requested from users in Afghanistan. We've got users in all 34 provinces, he said Tuesday. It's absolutely clear that that's not a single province unaffected. Hamida Aman, the founder of Radio Begum, which broadcasts in Afghanistan, said the station and all local radio have been cut off. Satellite service Begum TV, which operates from Paris, was still going to air. Satellite TV remains the only window to the world now, she wrote on LinkedIn on Tuesday. A hit to businesses. The internet connectivity is one measure of a country's progress, and earlier this century things are looking up for Afghanistan. Money was flowing in as the US and its allies attempt to rebuild the civil society destroyed by Taliban's brutal rule from 1996 to 2001. Even as fighting and insecurity still flagged the swath of the nation. 20 years later, after the Taliban again seized control following the chaotic withdrawal of the Western forces in 2021, many wondered how long the internet and its vast well of vice would be allowed to remain. But the last few days has shown that Afghanistan needs the internet. The blackout severely disrupted daily life, according to news agency Total News, which filed the update on social media. Images broadcast online show the queues outside the banks as customers tried to withdraw cash. Online payment failed. Businesses couldn't contact suppliers or staff. Abdul Hamid, a 37-year-old money exchanger in Kabul, said he wasn't able to buy or sell currency because he didn't know the rate. He told CNN he spent 4 hours in the taxi to get to the main market to check the figure. The next day, he didn't bother opening the shop and instead sat and contemplated life with no income. Afghans desperate for the signal drove to the border with Pakistan, where it was possible to connect to at the Torkham crossing. Afghan SIM card and mobile network seems to be working normally, according to two Pakistani administrative officials posted there. Sabir Shah, an Afghan fruit dealer based in Peshawar, Pakistan, said he'd been unable to reach any suppliers in Afghanistan through phone or WhatsApp. Normally, large quantities of grapes, pomegranate, and apples are sent from Afghanistan to Pakistan, but payment systems have been disrupted as well as communication. It's become very difficult for me to know how many trucks are coming from there and where I'm supposed to supply them, he said. The Afghan government needs to understand that the internet and telephone are no longer luxuries, they are necessities of life. Urgent calls for reversal to the shutdown from the National United Nations, as well as rights groups Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International. Richard Burnett, the UN Special Rapporteur for Afghanistan, warned that disruption may sink the fragile economy with massive human rights implications. Sanctions, drought, and the forces forced the return of millions of refugees from Iran and Pakistan had worsened food shortages in the already impoverished country from which international aid had been withdrawn in recent years. Still, in the cities, generations of young Afghans, including Taliban loyalists, have grown up with the internet. In 2025, the idea that people can walk around without any means to pawn anyone seems completely foreign. It's a strange feeling to be without your phone, said Maimuna Durrani, a 33-year-old primary school teacher in Kabul, using on areas for safety reasons. The phone network was also shut, not just the internet. No one has landlines anywhere. Any, no one has landlines anymore, but even those weren't working. The inability to just pick up the phone and ask someone how they are or let people know that you're okay, that's difficult, she said. Relief and anger. Samira, a 19-year-old student from Kabul, was in the religious education class on Wednesday when a cleaner entered the room and whispered something to her teacher, who ran out and then came back minutes later beaming with her phone. After almost 48 hours of darkness, the internet was back. Some of the girls who had their phones in their bags began turning them on, and they were all so happy, said Samira, who used one name for safety reasons. She didn't have her phone on her, so asked to be excused early. I walked so fast that I reached home at least 5 minutes faster than other days. On the way, I saw almost everyone busy with their phones. Some people are talking on their phones, and some others were scrolling, she said. Ba- Pauzia Bahimi, 52, a housewife from Kabul whose daughters live in the US, said she was sitting near the window with a headache from lack of sleep when suddenly her phone beeped with missed messages. I picked up my phone and called my daughter on WhatsApp. It was the midnight in the US. She was still awake, crying because she hadn't heard from us for 3 days. I cannot tell you how happy I felt when I heard her voice. Rahimi told CNN that speaking to her family is the only way to keep my days happy. But beneath the joy, the relief of reconnecting with families runs the deep undercurrent of anger that begs the human right of connection could be easily and absolutely taken away. People, the nationwide shutdown, the Negan, the Afghan artist, educator, and activist lost her internet connection with the North. In the North, she raced to buy a router so she could stay in touch with her students and filed an essay for the special edition of the online magazine Usawa, warning that worse was to come. The situation is beyond urgent, she wrote in the article published last week. We are on the edge of being buried alive. When the internet dropped out nationwide, her editor, Shaikh Sauni Lamba, tried to reach her and other contributors. They must have been panicked, Lamba told CNN from her home in Hong Kong. Nigin told her later that yes, she had been alarmed by the cut, but had resolved to check on her students. I began walking on foot from house to house, crossing long distances. Wherever I went, I left a message. We continue. She said in an Instagram message shared with CNN. Seeing the pale, frightened faces of my friends and students filled me with rage. I made a promise to myself, either death or hope. Mariam Mariam, an exiled former member of Afghanistan's parliament, said the shutdown caused a lot of mental anguish. People had become agitated, so some had slid into depression. She said that it was clear the Taliban was trying to remove outside influences so it could return to its brutal rule of the 1990s. The more that they cut off the people and the world from Afghanistan, the more that they can do, she said. So if the public flogging happens or someone gets killed, where's the proof? It's not going to be there anymore. Some people inside Afghanistan manages to get messages out via Elon Musk's Starlink satellite internet network. So, and as the days wore on, the desperate families had talked about trying to smuggle in some Starlink unit. He said. Starlink isn't officially available inside Afghanistan. According to a website, CNN's request for comment wasn't answered. Tom Warrington from the Australian National University School of Computing said circumventing a shutdown that appears to have been ordered by the country's Taliban leader would be risky for ordinary Afghans. If you're engaged in the war against the Taliban, Starlink would be useful, but in terms of human rights, helping educate the local population, it wouldn't be, because giving them the unit would place them in so much danger, he said. Warrington said filtering immoral content from the internet, if that was the motivation, it would be difficult for any government, given the volume circulating online. The popular use of a virtual private network also shows it's relatively easy to reach beyond the government's control if the internet is working. On Wednesday, when the order came to reconnect, the traffic surged beyond the normal levels. Mandori from Kentic, the internet monitoring company, said the reconnecting would have been manual process completed by fewer than 10 service providers. He has he has seen this kind of shutdown before, as far back 2011 when the Egyptian government pulled the plug on the internet during the pro-democracy Arab Spring protest. That outreach kind of ushered in this era that we are in now, where that's all the government manipulation of communications, said Maduri. The problem with that is that it's very harmful to the government operations, the businesses. It really kills the economy. Former U.S. Ambassador to Afghanistan, Jarmai Khalilzad, seems to suggest on X that not all Taliban ministers are behind the outreach. Even their own ministers are dumbfounded, he wrote on Wednesday before the reconnection. I'm not sure the leadership understood the consequences of each decision before taking it. If the intent was to frighten the population, the move succeeded. The Sahara veteran from Human Rights Watch said friends had told her the 2 days of life felt like living in Afghanistan 30 years ago. Young girls had written to me that we should be their voice. The internet is the last thing that slightly changes their situation than those of prisoners, she wrote on the text message to CNN. They are worried this may happen again. CNN's Sofia Saifi in Islamabad and Esha Mitra in New Delhi contributed to this report. Correction: a previous version of this story misstated Haji Jaid's title. He's spoken for the Barki governor.